Hi everyone, Daniel here. Today we're going to try to finish our collection view for the arena report. And we have four kinds of cells to build as far as the UI goes. We have our headers for each row in landscape, that represents a class. We have headers for each column that represents uh, numbers 0 through 12. And we have our regular cells that each probably just it's going to be a number. I'm thinking about all changing the background according to the number, but I'm still chewing on that idea. And then we have this special corner case where I haven't decided what to do yet. So let's get started on that. And we just need to have four cells and I guess four cells and four classes. For these guys, I'm going to simply use a picture to represent the class, and I'm going to add another prototype cell items. How about the second one? This guy will not have an image view. Yeah, sure. Let's give it a try. And on very similarly, I need yet another cell to represent the data. The data. So this is a. I can call this like maybe arena report header class header. Sure. Uh, this would be arena report uh, count header. Arena report stat cell. Class header, count header, stat cell. Okay, and we'll go back to our report view and actually do these cells and get rid of this background color crap that we had from last video. Yeah, arena report class header. So we'll keep its background color. And I need to add the word cell back to our storyboard. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. I don't expect anything to go wrong. Oops. Arena arena report. Here we go. Yeah, that looks okay. I mean, the numbers are really daunting, but when they're smaller number, I expect them to look better. What's up with all these cells? When I basically relay out the table view, since there are a lot of cells that's having been instantiated, uh, the upper left cell is most certainly being reused, and when that happens, it's being reused with the same background color, and it shows up randomly elsewhere. Since we're not doing any customization of it, it just kept whatever property it had. Corner cell, and it's just this special cell. Not so far so good. So far so good. We're going to create a bunch of cell classes to represent and make us able to customize those cells. Okay, here we are. We have three new classes: empty UI view UI collection cell. You will see in a second as I assign these guys their classes. Class header cell. Class header cell has an icon view. Account label. Similarly, okie dokie. Now we can actually assign some of the content to this to that table. I can cast these as the specific type of cells. And say cell, your class, your image, icon view dot image is one of these player class names. By index y value plus 1, or no, not plus 1. For report count, we'll do the same thing. And then say count label and this will be the x, except this time I actually want it to be x minus 1. Okay, now we're going to work on the data part or the business logic for the arena report. And what we have in front of us is the generated model for the arena report. And to generate the data we needed for the view we created just now, I'll have to basically write a few custom uh, things for it. And this is a classic model code. First thing, let's declare the shape for our stats. Okay, so now our data has the right shape and initial value, and it's time to think about how to populate it from our core data model. And I'm going to only build part of it, so as you can see there's a bunch of data here, and today I'm only going to populate it according to these runs. And I'm going to do it with some caching mechanism, because caching, who don't love caching? Needs retabulate is true. So when this is true, we need to recalculate. Otherwise, we don't do anything. And I'm going to specify a getter for all this data. If I can. In the getter, I'm going to say if needs retabulate I'm going to do the retabulation here and then says needs retabulate is false. And then I'm going to return the value. Of course, the common mistake that I had this is we can't return the thing, return a calculated property from itself. We need an actual property to store it. So I'm going to change the name of this property as cached win stats. And then before I get too far, let's declare another calculated property that is the win stats, and it will have our getter there. Similarly, we'll do the cached trick for loss stats. So back to our caching mechanism. If needs retabulate is true, we're going to do the tabulation, right? Tabulation, and then set it to false. Needs tabulate is false. And this happens here as well. So after the tabulation, which we will in which will update the value for our cached values, will return our cached values, cached win stats. And you may ask, why does this help us? The key to this trick is we really don't want to calculate the loss stats and win stats separately, right? If you think about it, we need to go through the records associated to this report, and after one run through the records, we have opportunity to observe the win and lose for each record, therefore populate and update this table in that run through that run. And there's no reason to and usually there's temporal locality principle where usually whenever you ask for the win stats, it's very likely that you need the loss stats very quickly. It's really beneficial to one, cache the value. Two, well, this is a small data set, so I guess it don't really matter, but it'd be ideal if you can do one run through all the records. So that's where this mechanism came in, because when I say tabulate, it really literally just means a tabulate function like this. And what it does is go through the records, runs, and update cached values, right? Come to think of it, maybe a better place to set the needs retabulate to false is at the end of the tabulate function, right? When a new record is created for this report, right, we simply set the needs retabulate to true somehow, somewhere, right? And then that way we know that, and that way we don't have to worry about calling the tabulate function as a user of a consumer of this model. And all we need is ask for the win stats and lose stats when it's needed, and everything will, the caching mechanism will take care of itself. And that is that. So let's just go in and actually write this tabulate function. The persistence stuff does not affect us here because we're just reading the data. So rons dot enumerate object index, no, enumerate using blocks, the old-fashioned way to deal with this kind of thing. And here we can say we start with our raw or untyped ron. I'm guessing the second one is the index. And the third, I think, is like a stop flag. Okay. If let ron equals untyped ron as rinron for our cached win stats, to determine the first index we need the class ron.playerClass dot integer value. We need that value to -1 because we've talked about the unknown stuff. So this is the win. So we'll see how many win do you have. Win ron dot win count dot integer value plus 1. Oh, okay. I can live with that. Same thing for the loss. Very similarly, loss. Of course, this will be the loss count. And one thing that's really important is we need to reset the values. Alrighty. So we reset the stats to zeros, and then we find this sort of coordinates in this table by our arena round records, and then we will increase the value in the cell if one is found. And this will repopulate the stats in this cell and validate the cache. Yeah, I like that. Now we can go up a level to our view controller and actually display that. So I just had a revelation. This view controller as of right now does not work so well when we actually have the data available, because it actually has a bunch of specialized code for the headers. And when we're passing the data, mm, the main issue is we will have a hard time to provide the height and width if we simply want to assign it. So Well, I'm going to make this view a little bit more specialized. I'm going to say it has data in landscape basically, and this data will match our integer data that is tabulated. So this is already the view layer, so it can basically expect a certain data format, and that I think that's fine. And I'm gonna convert these landscape height into a calculated data property, and the value for it would be for the height, right? That would be the data in landscape dot count. So basically, the height in landscape for a report is going to be however high this is, or however high this is, plus 1. Why plus 1? The header. And that's why we need this in direction. Same thing here, except this time it's actually the count for the first element. So to make this safer, I'm going to give it a first element. Okay, that's the initial data. Now we can configure this view controller from outside and simply give it some data, and it will report the correct width and height. And the last thing we need to do is actually assign the correct value for the cells. We have this stat cell where we have a stat label, I believe. Let's cast it to the correct cell type, arena report, stat cell. Now we can say cell your stat label dot text is, so this should find the correct data from our data in landscape and display it as the property of the cell. Now I can go to our one level higher, basically, where the pages where this view are used as uh, pages for a page view controller. And here and over here we have everything. We got our view model, which we can from which we can get uh, the actual data, and then we have our instantiation of the report view controller where we can configure it. So here I'm going to say page dot data in landscape equals, let's give it a placeholder value. Similar things here. And I'm going to go to the view model, tabulated data in landscape for when view, and this will return our array of ints, and it will return nothing, an empty view by default. If report, let report be the current report, return report dot win stats, right? And very similarly, loss view, loss stats. Okay, view model dot. Okay, it crashed. After some investigation, I found out that the crash happened because the view model that's supposed to be part of our grid, our view controller, report view controller, is not being passed down from the root level right after it's being created here. So I've changed that. You can see I've passed it to our page source, the source data source controller, which in turns pass it down to the actual view controller. And another thing that has been changed is um, the the coordinates we use to locate the data in landscape in the view controller has to be shifted by one. That is because we basically because the headers exist. And after that, everything started working as expected, as you can see here. And thanks for watching.